Welcome out, everyone, to another episode of Random Thoughts. My name is Logan, your host and tour guide, and I'm back for another episode. This is going to be number 10. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I just have so much content. I felt that it was necessary to kind of unload some of this for the benefit of all of you great decoders out there. So welcome out, another episode of Random Thoughts. If you're new to this, well, we take many different topics, all different, and kind of just dump them all and decode them, and they just kind of seem to blend all together. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for all your support. These are a lot of fun. I actually have the most fun doing these because you don't get bored. It's just like here are the 7 different topics. So let's break all these down. Here are the 7 topics that we'll be discussing for this Random Thoughts. Man, it's been over a year since I've done one of these. Here are the 7 topics. In the number 1 position, we're going to be breaking down The Truman Show. I just covered this in my live podcast last night, but we're going to break it down fully. Number 2, Silver Surfing 47. Number 3, Passion of the Christ. We're going to get into some movies. Number 4, the cow vaccine. Number 5, implant. Number 6, 37, and number 7, blood red. So there are the top 7 categories we're going to be breaking down and decoding. So let's have some fun and get started with all this. We'll begin with the very first topic, The Truman Show. And I want to just first start off by giving a shout out to this person right here. It goes by the avatar name RowFlow17. This person commented on the podcast I did with Jordan just a few weeks ago on Let's Talk About Saturnalia, and he posted a comment, and this is what he had to say to bring it back to your Truman Show decode. And on the note of the Queen's Jubilee year, how's it going to end? This is what he ended up putting in his comment, and that was a trigger for me, and this is the very reason why I decided to bring this into this Random Thoughts number 10. So a big shout out to the RowFlow17. Thank you so very much for this comment. So here we go. This is for you. So I decided to, first start off with how's it going to end, and who has the button. If you watch Truman Show, I didn't include this in my Truman Show decoded. I don't think I did anyway, but nonetheless, here she is, Natasha McElhone. She was the one who was trying to free Truman to get out of the show, and she wore this pin, and it was how's it going to end? And of course, the numerology through the Chaldean is the number 70. So where do we go with that? It can go to so many different areas, but I wanted to obviously bring in the decimals of the golden ratio. We're going to be getting into the string of pi here for a second, but if you're using this for your decoding, I hope you are now, because this has a lot of relevance talking about the sun and the golden ratio. The number 70 in the string of the golden ratio appears at the 64th and 65th decimal digits of pi. Remember, 64 is tied to the possible codons in our DNA. How's it going to end? Well, with death, obviously. When you take the 64 and 65 and you add it up, you're going to get the number 129. So let's just hold that thought, and now we're going to switch to the string of pi. Where does the number 70 appear in the string of pi? Well, it occupies 2 digits. First one is the yin-yang, the 96 itself, and then the 0 is the 97th digit. We're going to do the same thing there. We're going to add this up. 96 plus 97 gives us the total of 193. So I decided to bring them together and add them up and see what they come out to. And when you take the digits through the golden ratio and the total of 129 found from that number 70, and then we get the 193 found from the number 70 through the string of pi, and we add up the 129 plus the 193, get out your calculators. So how's it going to end? Well, it's obviously going to end in death. This is kind of humorous, I really thought anyway. And remember that the golden ratio is 1.61. And if you multiply that twice, 161 times 2, it's 322. How's it going to end? It's going to end with death. Well, I decided to bring these 2 characters into this part of the decode because these are the 2 characters that were involved in how's it going to end. Natasha McElhone was Sylvia trying to get him out of the game. Jim Carrey, of course, was Truman Burbank. I decided to look at the timestamps of their birthdays, just the days on the calendar, not the years, because Carrie was born in 62 and Natasha was born in 69. But notice what the result is, 331 days, and that's not just any number, it's the frickin' 67th prime number. It's really fascinating, and of course, what is that 67? Well, it's tied to the sun. So is this telling us that the game of life is going to end by way of the sun? I mean, there's these movies coming out, Don't Look Up and Moonfall, and we have a lot of talks about the sun perhaps giving off a massive solar flare. How's it going to end? Well, the 67 is the 19th prime number. 19 is very important, as I've been showing, and many of you have been showing in the tarot. It's the sun card. And 19 is a special number because it's the 8th prime number. And the 8th special because it forms this pattern in the sky in nature now. This is called the analemma. This is the pattern the sun makes as it moves across the ecliptics, the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. How's it going to end? I wonder if it's going to end by way of the sun. Of course, because it has relevance to us, this as above and so below. And these movies, they're very fitting. They tell stories. Some more little nuggets that I found. I got a little. Hang on one sec, folks. So I found this also to be very interesting. Carrie was born on the 17th, and Natasha was born on the 14th. There's that 17 and 4. There's that 17 and 14. What do you see there? Obviously, it's the 714, the 741. That's tied, of course, to Lucifer and the sun again. And then if you bring numerology into it, these two words, you'd have the earth 17 and time 14. So is this telling us how's it going to end? Tied to the sun, earth, and time, which is Satan and earth itself. And last but not least, this is how I know this reality is scripted beyond the scope of man and woman doing it, because they're not just sitting down creating their movies around what I'm showing you here. Not at this level. This is just so deep. And, Natasha was born on December 14th. December 4th, every day, by the way, has two numbers. That's why numbers encroach. They have the common year and the leap year. But Natasha being born on December 14th, in the leap years, it's the 349th day of the year, going right back to numberempire.com. And look at exactly what prime number it is. I mean, are you kidding me? She's got the pin she wears and the statement that equals the 70, which is the prime to her day on the calendar of her birth. So you can see how deep this is. And it's like, do you think the producers are sitting down casting these people because they're doing this prior to casting these people? I just don't think that's I think that's just crazy thinking. This, for me anyway, completely solidifies that we're living inside of a script. We are living in our own Truman Show. Make no mistake about that. So let's get into our second topic. Another movie. The Silver Surfing 47. I came out with this on my social media page, and it was all to do with this movie. I decided to turn this on the other night just for background, and here I am decoding it. And it's the Fantastic Four. It's the rise of the Silver Surfer, and of course we'll go into the comics and the element silver. And so when you start to break this down, and I may go a little bit deeper with this because there are many people involved. One of them, as I have circled here, Lawrence Fishburne. They chose him to be the voice of the Silver Surfer. But remember, he's also Morpheus in the movie The Matrix and in a ton of other movies as well. And you can decode all those and you'll see how all those numbers are going to be scripted as well. But he's the voice of the Silver Surfer. And what was fascinating about this find was that Lawrence Fishburne was born on July 30th, 1961. Look at what day of the year it is, folks. It's the 211th day of the year, which is tied to the number 47. 211 is the 47th prime number. What's the 47th element? That's right. It is silver. So again, whoever, came together and made this movie, or were they sitting down and did they cast Lawrence Fishburne because they knew he was born on the 211th day of the year and he was going to be a voice of the Silver Surfer? Because I could even add in Doug Jones, who was born on March 24th, I think, or May 24th. I could have added him in there, but, there's just more layers to it. But how about that? And this is just more solidified proof to me that mankind's being used. The release date of the Fantastic Four was on the 166th day of the year. And look at what equals 166 in the English numerology cipher. The Tetragrammaton, which is a direct match to the Tetragrammaton in the Chaldean, because 47 is silver. So you can see, folks, it's like, where do we draw the line here? The release date being tied to the Tetragrammaton, and then the Tetragrammaton itself through the Chaldeans tied directly to silver. And then Lawrence Fishburne is tied to silver through his day on the calendar. Mankind's being used. I don't even know how else you'd even want to try to describe that. Let's get into the third topic now, the passion of the Christ. Here's another ridiculous. If you weren't convinced then, if you're new and maybe you're like kind of kicking these ideas around, stick around. I have a catalog, almost 250 videos now. Go take your pick. Go watch some of the decodes I've done. It's clear that mankind is not scripting this reality. Passion of the Christ. I'm considering doing a decode on this one. This one's ridiculous. And it's not long, but here it is. Here is Maya Morgenstern. She was the person they casted to play Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary. And then Jim, they casted him to play Jesus himself. So I decided to do their birth, their timestamps in between their births. This time I included their years. She was born in 62. Jim was born in 68. There's a span of 2,341 days in between their births. Remember, we're talking about the Virgin Mary giving birth to the Son, the Christ, through the Immaculate Conception. 2,341 is not just any number. It's the frickin' 347th prime number. There's that 47 again. And look at what we have here. Look at what we have here. This is called a permutation, which is another fancy word for kind of like a number anagram. You see the 347 right there in the GOD. It's right there. You can't miss it. And again, do they cast these people because they have this methodology and that's what they're using before they cast these people? I just, and I mean, you have the subtleties. September 26th, there's the 26th, there's the number one, and you bring the 26, that's 126. If you've been paying attention, the 126 is tied to the 53rd element, which is one half of the IM. It's the iodine. So just more. It keeps going. More and more and more. So we get into the Christ. We get into Jesus, the passion of the Christ. We get into this word God in the Chaldean and being the 374. Look at how tightly woven this code is. Now we get into something called alchemology, which is where you take the spelling of words, you bring it into the periodic table. Well, this is not actually true alchemology. This is spelling out the words and then adding them all up. But you have the word Jesus. This is phonetically how it can be spelled without the letter J, because, obviously the G sounds just like that. And you can spell some of these words out using the periodic table. And here it is. Jesus is one of them. Jesus, it's right there. So when you go over to the trusty calculator and you add it all up, you're going to get the number 374.779. And where's that 374 found? It's freaking right there. It's a direct. It's not like this one was. Like one digit was in, not the same, but it's still a permutation. This one's directly matched to the outcome of spelling Jesus with the periodic table. When you add up the protons of these elements, 32 plus 16 plus 92 plus 16, using the trusty calculator, you're going to get the number 156. And look at what the 156 is tied to. The 911. How about that? What happened on 911? It's right there, folks. I mean, this stuff is, this stuff is relevant. It has a ton of merit. And I think this is absolutely undeniable. And, big shout out to Nigel and Harry and the Devil's Playground. Oh, Jesus, he's us. Exactly. We are the Christ. We are love. Waking up, part of that is realizing that you are a God. That's why the Christ said, ye are gods. So I decided to do numerology of these 4 elements that spell out the word Jesus. Here it is right at the top. Germanium, sulfur, uranium, sulfur. It equals the number 112. We decided to bring that into the string of pi. And look at where it's found. It starts at the 709th decimal digit. And that's, if you just drop that 0, you're going to link right to gold. And gold is the sun, folks. And typically, a lot of people think that the Christ figure with that disc behind his head is the personification of the sun. So let's go a little bit further. This was a huge gem for me to find. This was a massive discovery for me through all my research because that number 112 is a big one. And I covered this in another decode tied to the wild boar. I'm not going to bring that into it, but tied to the fallen angel story, of course, because that's what we all are. But here it is, tied to this element cadmium, which comes from the word cadmia, which is the number 14, tied to Satan, time, and God, the time God. And cadmium, excuse me, is used to make batteries. How about that? It's used to make batteries. What do you think we're in? We're in a battery. You're a battery. I'm a battery. The human being, the human vessel is a battery. It's positively and negatively charged. We become polarized when we come on the motherboard. And this battery right here is a nickel cadmium battery. There it is. And when you add these 2 elements up right here using the trusty calculator, you got old St. Nick. This is called Devil's Copper. It gives you the number 171.071. Look at all those 1s and 7s, which of course is going to lead right to the 1st chakra and the 7th chakra, but it leads right to the sun's pattern because I came out with the Superstar Decoded. I have part 3 coming out as well, and I showed this is the pattern the sun makes. If you're interested in the patterns of real nature, please go watch my Superstar Decoded parts 1 and 2. But I showed that there are not 12 months, there are 13 months to form this boomerang shape, which forms the dragon wave, the sine wave, and in the very dead center is the number 7. You'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you'd have 1, 7, 1 is the pattern the sun makes. And for those of you that are fans of the septenary, it fits. I use the septenary in this decode of the Superstar. But there it is right there, the 171, telling all of us clearly that it is the architect or architects coming down here to become man. And the sun provides the lights, camera, action. Just like a projector on a movie. It's right there. You can't miss this stuff. It's a little abstract, of course. It's not going to be like 1 + 1 = 2 on a piece of paper. It doesn't work that way. This code is really, really deep. So let's get into the third topic now. The cow vaccine. The cow vaccine. This is a pretty short one, but decided to throw it in there because it was on the shelf for a while. And the word itself was created by Edward Jenner. And it comes from the Latin word meaning cow, which means personal property, by the way. And cows, of course, what are they used for? What are they used for primarily? You got the 2 horns right there, representing the Taurus fields. There's a lot of symbology by just looking at a cow, but this is where this came from, was from the cowpox and the smallpox. So I decided to break this dude down because is this guy being used? Yep, of course he is. Or of course he was. This is how comical and ridiculous this code is. This is why whatever created this reality is a freaking stand-up comedian. That's why I have God as a comedian. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Part 5. I'm probably going to come out with a part 6. I love to laugh. It's hilarious. This is no exception. The dude was born in the sign of Taurus, which is the bull. Really? This dude who created the vaccine from a cow was born in the sign of Taurus? Are you serious? Yeah. That's how comical this reality is. It's freaking a joke. And he was born on May 17th, which of course is the 175, which is going to be tied to the fish story as well through the gadolinium. and the 64 possible codons in our DNA. But Edward Jenner's the 45. Of course, the 45 is the box that we live in. 45 is rhodium. And the 197 is the 45th prime number, and 197 is tied to this element right here, gold. And we're being used and mined for our energetic gold, and we are cattle, folks. That's why I've shown this so many times in different decodes. And again, these are my truths and opinions. You don't have to agree with them. This is just what I'm showing. And last but not least, with this kind of comical, ridiculous code, May 17th, the day Edward Jenner came out into this world, is the 137th day of the year, which is the 33rd prime number. Are you kidding me? Really? This is how comical this reality. This whole total reality is predestined. It's scripted. Absolutely. This to me is my proof. Let's get into the next topic called implant. Oh, you know where I'm going with that, I hope. Implant. That's right. Let's first start out by saying God is within you. Big statement. It's in the holy text. And as I've shown, the 54 tied to the element xenon. Pink Floyd, there's someone in my head, but it's not me, tied to the xenon in the 54. They Live. Go check out my decode on They Live. It's New Station 54, broadcasting the hypnotic trance to keep you under a spell, to keep you asleep. And what's keeping you asleep? Well, obviously, it's the Wizard of Oz. 54 in the string of pi is occupying the 191, 192. Osmium has that 191 and the 192 as well. A lot of these elements have multiple atomic weights, and that is the Wizard of Oz element right there. And of course, 76 is going to give you a reduction down to the 13, which is going to tie you right back to the sun again. So let's get into this implant. God is within you. Do we have implants in our brain? The little voice in your head that's talking right now. Do you think are you in control of that? Do you think you control that? I know a lot of you want to believe that, but let's just hypothetically say you're not in control of that. And the downloads you're getting, the little voice in your head doesn't, it runs you. Is it possible? Can't rule it out. So here it is, the implant. And if you do the syllable aspect, it's implant. So you take the M, which is the I am plant. The M, when you don't use the vowels, it's the I and the M. The I am is the M. The M. And we're going to come back to that. Don't you worry about that. But this is what it means. To plant in abstractly of ideas, emotions, etc. Is this what's going on in our reality? Are we having things planted in our minds? Well, according to the Egyptians, the all-seeing eye is inside the brain. You slice a brain open in half, and you're going to have the rendition of the all-seeing eye inside each and every one of our brains. There are no exceptions. Well, maybe there could be, I guess, but it's not like anybody's going to cut their brain in half to find out. But there's the eye of Ra right there, going back to ancient Egypt, predating any of other text. Predating the biblical text, predating Hinduism and the oldest known religions. It predates all that. It's the eye of Ra, which is the sun. So I decided to break this down, the implant, the I am. And when you just use this right here, and I take that back because obviously this is a vowel. I don't know why I say consonants only, but anyway, the M, the I am, is the 1 and the 4. And it's interesting because the 1-4 is the first two digits of pi itself. When you make the full rotation of a circle, it is 3.14, the measurement of that. And there's that 14. And as I have been showing, many of you have been showing, it seems like we're stuck in this three-dimensional space on this, this prison planet, which is a circle, the perfect circle, which is Earth. And here is the circle. It's the 17. And the 17 is tied to this word life. It's tied to the word matrix, yet it's also tied to the 4-letter name of the ancient Israelite God of the holy text. It's the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. It could be the YHWH, YHVH. You're going to get the same outcome, 17. Fish is 17. Gold is 17. And it's I am. And is it this I am? Is it controlling your brain? Is that what's going on? Someone in my head, but it's not me. God is within you. The Wizard of Oz. Who is the wizard? So to really kind of bring this all together, here it is. The I am in the English, it's the 9 and the 1-4, giving you the 23, but it's the 9 and the 1-4. And using a different cipher, Chaldean, through the pineal, you get the same outcome. So is the little implant the pineal gland? And you're born with it. It's not like something was embedded into your brain. But how about that? The I am's 914, pineal is 914. What do you think the odds would be? And they're both the 23, which is tied to the royal star of the lion, tied to Leo and the sun. Tied to Leo and the sun, the Wizard of Oz, the I am that I am. So when we incarnate, do we just become currency, as I have been showing? I personally believe that's exactly what we make up. The sine and cosine waves, we become currency, the 27, and we get used for that energetic currency. So let's get into the next topic. This one was a fun one. The 37. 37. What does that 37 mean? Let's start off with this slide right here. I've been wanting to get this one out for a while. I just didn't have a lot of meat and potatoes to this actual topic itself, but now I put a whole bunch of ones together. But here it is, dude. This was so interesting. When you take the temperature of man or woman, the Homo sapien, and you do the conversion of Celsius to Fahrenheit, I thought this was really, really interesting. It's 37 degrees Celsius, and it's a tie to the Fahrenheit average temperature of the human being itself, 98.6. Cro-Magnon 1 was among the first fossils to be recognized as belonging to our own species, Homo sapiens. And this is obviously not from me. This is not my factual stuff. I'm just showing you this right here. Obviously, you have to go to an archaeologist and talk to them. Is this true? But I thought it was really interesting that Cro-Magnon equals the number 37 tied to the temperature of what our bodies are regulated at, and tied to that 98.6. What was really also interesting is it was tied to this card right here in the Cards of Illumination, the Jack Diamonds card, the 37th card in the deck. The 37th card in the deck is the Jack in the box, the Jack Diamonds. If you're a female, it would be the Queen. And of course, remember, if you've been paying attention, that loop of incarnation, reincarnation, perhaps the loop we never get out of, 1937, 46. 1937, 46. So what about that number 98? So we got the 37. And we got the Jack Diamonds card, the Jack in the box, and the Cro-Magnon man, which is supposedly where we belong to, but it converts to the number 98. So where's the number 98? In the string of pi, here it is. This was a big find. The 98 appears the 80th and 81st decimal digit. And lo and behold, there it was, the connecting point. I've shown this before, but not with the temperature and the Jack Diamonds like this. But the Tree of Life and Tree of Knowledge. Tree of Life is 80, Tree of Knowledge is 81. There it is right there. And of course, if you take 80 and 81 and add it up, get out your calculator, simple math, it's going to give you the golden ratio, 161. How about that? The tree, this is exactly what it's telling you. As we incarnate, become man or woman, we get stuck in the box, Jack or Jill. I did a decode on Jack and Jill, and we have our programmed self. Our bodies are measured in these temperatures. This is how we come programmed. You don't have to talk to your body to keep it at a constant temperature. It's automatically at that. And all these things sync up like this. We're talking about real science now, not fudging anything. Tied to some ancient texts from the Tree of Life, from the Aramaic, the Torah. And, going here is where I got my information from. The Tree of Life is the biblical part of it. And you can go study this kind of stuff. They've changed. This has been changed, by the way. They added in. I'll show you that in a second. But let's go further. Because what happened is I don't know when this got changed, but before they never had Tree of good and evil. It was just the tree of knowledge. And it got changed or got added. So if you go to the website, and here it is. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. And these are the words they added on. This is obviously the good and evil. Here's tree. This would be knowledge. And then this would be good. And this would be evil. And it doesn't matter. It does not matter them adding that on because it just gives us the same outcome. The tree of good and bad. Here's the good and bad. It's the 59, which is going to directly tie to the game of life. You got to have both. It's both tree of life. You get incarnated into the tree of life. And then once you do, you know you have now a good and bad. You know the difference between the two. It's clear as day. When you bring it into the golden ratio, what about the golden ratio? We showed the string of pi. How about the golden ratio? That number 98 found from the 37 in the Cro-Magnon man. It occupies digits 7 and 8 right there. 1.61803398. There's the 98. 7th and 8th digits it occupies. And of course, lo and behold, what do you think the odds would be? This is primarily 99% of the air we breathe. Nitrogen and oxygen. Tied to the tree of life. How about that? Tied to 37 in the Cro-Magnon man, all the way back to here. Found from the conversion of the temperature our bodies are regulated at. Man's not coding this. They're just not. There's no supercomputer that's coding this kind of stuff. Because this is real. We really breathe this. And then when you take the digits through the golden ratio, and you add these up. Here are the 8 digits. You get the number 38. And 38, of course, is tied to the queen diamonds. When you go to the lineages of the cards, here's the queen and here's the queen and the jack. 37 is the jack, 38 is the queen, it's Jack and Jill. I did a decode on Jack and Jill, and if you've been paying attention again, the time loop that keeps us stuck perhaps, 19 and 20, 37 and 38, 46 and 47. 19, 37, 46. But it's always the double digits, and there's the jack and the queen right there, tied right to the regulation of the Cro-Magnon man, and the air we breathe, and the tree of life, and the tree of knowledge of good and bad. It's all right there. It's all written into the script. All of it is written into the script. And I thought this was, I came up with this one. This was really a big one. I've released this on social media. Many people shared it. I thought this was absolutely undeniable. The womb is what we're all born from. And it's the number 19 tied to the spirit. Spirit equals 19. Soul equals 19. We get born with the embryo in the belly, the womb. And the 19 through the string of pi occupies those 2 digits as I just showed. Whoops, I have a typo there. It's 37 and 38. There it is. 19, 37, 46, 37 and 38. Is it going to be a Jack or Jill in the womb before you come out? Folks, this is undeniable. There's no supercomputer doing this. This is predestination. This is a script that was written long before. We're all just playing the script out. This should be clear to everybody. This was a big marker for me personally, especially with the recycle process. Go watch my Prison Planets, the 42 decoder, all that. It's 19, 37, 46, but it includes the 38, the 20, and the 47. Stuck in the womb, come out, a Jack or Jill. So it's clear to me. And when we come out, the Jack or Jill, we get thrown into hell. In the box. This is Pandora's box. Pretty clear. And we have to start using fear and love, which is 37. These are the 2 emotions that rule over us. This is our acid and our alkaline, positive and negative, hot and cold, whichever way you want to look at it. 16, 21, 37, which is tied to the Jack Diamonds card. 37 is not just any number, it's the frickin' 12th prime number, and it goes right to the tarot, and there's the hangman. We have to come in through the birth canal. Typically, we come in head first, the majority of us, through the birth canal. We become part of the sun. This is telling you, you're enlightened, you're from the sun, born from the sun, and you're born into this world. Now you're a little devil, and you're a Jack or Jill. Go check out my decode on Thanksgiving decoded. The year Thanksgiving was first observed was in the year 1621. When you celebrate Thanksgiving, you're giving thanks for living in duality. That's what it means. I showed that in my Thanksgiving decoded. And are we just little toys? Are we just little playthings for the as above? Toy Story is 157. 157 is the 37th prime number, and it goes right back once again to that Jack Diamonds. And again, it just goes all the way right back to this Cro-Magnon 37 and tied to the temperature conversion of the human vessel called the Homo sapien. How about that? Look at all these syncs like this. Tree of life, tree of knowledge. We're living out both of these. We're playing the game of life. We breathe this air. We become the Jack or Jill in the womb. This is all undeniable that we're living in a predestined script, folks. That's exactly what this is telling. We're just little toys. Even this guy right here who played the main character in Avatar, the movie, considering doing a decode on this, this is who they casted. Jake Sully was his name. Samuel Henry John Worthington. Of course, he was born on August 2nd. What's the August 2nd card? Well, it's just the Jack Diamonds card. Think about what I'm showing you here. Just the Jack Diamonds card. He's the Jack stuck in the box, the Avatar. We're playing out our avatars. We're playing out our avatars. And, Jake Sully, 9 and 1/6. There's the permutation of that gold. Because when we incarnate into this reality, we become energetic food for whatever's running this reality. It's a battery. You live in a self-contained battery. So when you become an avatar, you end up giving off emotions, fear and love. And that feeds something. That's pretty crystal clear. And last but not least with this 37, how about this big word called president? Most countries have one. Well, look at what it has tied to it. 37. And look at this number right here through Number Empire. Real math now. 157 is the 37th prime number. 157 is this element right here, gadolinium. It's the 64th element. 64 is the number of squares on the chessboard because we are playing the game of life. We are playing out in duality. And this element, the Royal Society of Chemistry used for their icon to describe it is a television screen. If you go read up on this, it's because this element was used to make television screens. So what do you think we're inside of? We are inside of a movie, playing out your role as a human being. Operating at 37 degrees Celsius, 98 degrees Fahrenheit. You should have bells going off now. Crystal clear. So let's get into the last topic now of this Random Thoughts number 10. Blood red. Blood red. And you know it, we're going to get into the blood. Going to get into the blood and the angels and demons and all that stuff. Show you more predestination, how it's all fixed. So blood is red. Why is blood red? Because it's the interaction of iron and oxygen. That's why it's red. So of course, here are the elements. Iron and oxygen. Remember, Adam and Eve equal 26. Yod-Heh-Vav equals 26. And 55 is predestination. Predestination equals 55. So there it is. It's oxygen and iron together to form our blood, which I did a decode. I have a decode coming out just on the blood itself to expand. I did Random Thoughts number 6, I think it was, and I covered the blood types. So I decided to add that up. Look at that, using the trusty calculator in the very middle. Look at what we get for an outcome, 71.93. I had bells going off with this. Of course, I'm going to tie it right to the periodic table. 71 to one of Lucifer's elements. This is what it's telling us. 71 is the 20th prime number. 20 is duality. 20 is pawn. 20 is free. 20 is mason. There's no escaping the code. And there's that 174 again, as I showed in the Truman Show. And then the 71 is found in this element right here called germanium. 32 protons. 32 is the degrees at which water turns into a solid. It transmutes from one state to another. 33 degrees, it turns into a liquid. 33 and 32, those two numbers clearly tell you the division between spirit and matter. This is matter. There's the 71. Germanium is used to make transistors because we're living inside of a battery, which we are cells of the battery when we incarnate. So I decided to go further. 32 protons with germanium. What element has the 32? Well, it's sulfur. It's element 16. And it's tied to this word right here because that's what we incarnate into, as I showed in hell being 37, tied to that number 37. Well, it's tied to the 16, tied to the germanium and the 71, tied from what iron and oxygen come together to form the blood. The blood is your oil. That is what keeps you alive, amongst so many other things. But there it is, right there. And 32 represents duality. Showed that in my Groundhog Day. It was all over Groundhog Day, 32 was. And there's the tarot card, card number 16. Obviously, to me, showing this is what happens how you get here. Of course, this could definitely be a penis, ejaculation, impregnation, procreation, becoming a human through this process. It's what you do down here, procreate. Going over to the right-hand side, what about that number 71? As I mentioned, it's tied to the 20 because 71 is the 20th prime number. 20 is a very big deal because it's linked to this word duality. Pawn equals 20. Mason equals 20. Free equals 20. And the 20th card in the tarot, it's the judgment. So do we get judged? Is this a possibility? This is what the tarot's telling you. It doesn't mean it's the authority, but that's what the tarot's telling you. You get judged down here in duality. What does that mean? And then the 1988 deck of the medicine cards that came out, Jamie Sames and the other ones that authored this great card deck using insects, animals, and reptiles. It's the frickin' mouse. And you know, what do we use? What do scientists use in the laboratory to experiment on for the greater good of mankind? Mice. Millions die every year just to make the Homo sapien race advance. A lot of cruelty, a lot of pain and suffering in these little critters. Of course, you know, if you're not an animal lover, you'd be like, that's no big deal. But do you think it just stops in the laboratory? You think that we're not being experimented on? Not in the sense of where we're being cut open in that sense, although that may be going on. We live in an experiment. Go check out my Rat in a Cage, part 1 and part 2. Clearly to me, we're living in an experiment. Mankind is an experiment. Going back over to the left-hand side, what about those angels and demons? Well, this element right here, germanium, has many atomic weights. 71 is one of them. And then when you round up, because this is isotope 72, because they're going to take that 9 and they're going to round it up to 72. And there's where you're going to get your 72. If you just go to germanium itself and let's see if I can find it. There you go. If you just go to germanium itself, you will find an element on the periodic table. Straight up, there it is. The average of germanium is 72.630. This is one of the most stable isotopes it has. These elements, if you study them, they have what are called stable isotopes. Go study and read about what that means. But there's the 72 angel and demon story. Of course, 72 plus 72 is 144. There's the 144,000. That story. And remember that sulfur being tied to that 32 degrees Fahrenheit. When you convert that into Celsius, going back again, we get the 0 degrees, and now we get into the Fool. So it's telling you when you incarnate through the blood, when you incarnate into an avatar, you become a fool. And are you being influenced by the angels and demons? Good cop, bad cop, constantly, the push-pull. A lot of ancient texts say so. And it's feeding the wolf. It's feeding the wolf is what it is. You have this 72 angels, 72 demons, 72 plus 72 is 144. There's the element that consistently has been showing that 144. It's neodymium used to make magnets. It's also tied to the latitude, longitude of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Feed the wolf. Feed the wolf. Right there. It's the 60. Is the wolf the angels and demons? The good cop, bad cop, the antagonist, protagonist that's constantly tugging at your strings. And of course, it's going to be magnetic. Your blood is polarized. Your blood has iron in it. It's magnetic. Iron is magnetic, or can be used. Iron can definitely be grabbed by a magnet. Think about what I'm showing you. So we go further. The Fool. When you break that down through numerology, that's the 39. Tied to this word right here in the original spelling of the Aramaic and Lucifer. Lucifer is 39. It's also 75 and 12, but the Hebrew ordinal is the number 39 tied to that Fool. So you have the sun right there. So this is telling me anyway, this is the sun coming down and becoming man, or controlling man. However way you want to look at it. However way you want to look at it. Become the zero. Remember, 32 degrees Fahrenheit is 0 degrees Celsius. More conversions. I showed the conversion with the 70, the 37 and the 98. So is the Fool the sun? Are we the sun? Because there's the sun right there. And when we incarnate, we form iron and oxygen and we become an avatar and our blood starts pumping and our heart starts moving. Are we being controlled remotely? Are we the architect itself? That'll be left up to you what you want to believe. But the sun's right there on this card. The Fool's the 39. The element that shares the 39, besides this one, there's another one called argon. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but it's potassium. There it is, 39. The average weight is 40, which is going to tie to the number 70, which we already showed. But there's the 19th card in the tarot. The sun, Lucifer, is 39, tied to potassium, tied to the sun. And then we can't leave out the other one called the argon. Argon also has the weight of 39. This is where it can kind of get confusing. Well, which is it? Well, you see, argon, when you take the AR and you bring it in with the K, it spells the word ark. And that's the Ark of the Covenant. It's the sun and moon that travel over the earth and form the analemas and the patterns. And could the moon be just a burnt out sun? And could the moon be tied to Lucifer? Could it be tied to the Christ? Could they just be tied to both? And we are the Christ. We're the Fool when we come down here. And we have the moon and the sun. They both run the stock market. I showed that. Are they running us? I think so. Along with the zodiac signs and the stars that have their say in all of that. So when we break down the Fool, to kind of end this random thoughts number 10, we're going to break the Fool down. When you do the alchemology of the Fool, that's alchemology is taking the numerology of the words and letters, matching the numbers, to the alchemical elements on the periodic table. I'm using the most abundant ones, not the averages, but it's beryllium, boron twice, oxygen, nitrogen twice, and lithium, matching these right here and going to the trusty calculator, adding that up, and look at what number we get, 82.047. And these are the two elements that represent the Fool. And what do you see right off the bat? You have your lead, turning lead into gold. When we incarnate and become man, as I have shown in my prison planets, we become lead. Radium and Ra and uranium, these all have decay rates down to lead. That's what they decay down to. So it's the sun decaying down and becoming man or woman, and we become lead. And 27 is currency. The other side of it is the 47. There's the silver. Silver is the most electric element on the periodic table. So the Fool has lead and silver, becoming physical matter and becoming very electric, which would be obviously influenced by magnetism. And when you add these up, lead and silver, not only do you get the 33 through saying lead and silver, but when you add these two up using the trusty calculator, look at what number you get. 314. You get pi. which of course is the 16th letter in the Greek, and 16's tied to the word hell, as I showed in my other one here. Where is it? 16 is tied to the word hell. I don't have it on there, but this is the 16th letter in the Greek alphabet. 16 is tied to the word hell. 6 days of creation, 1 through 6. Look at what I'm showing you here. We become the fool, we incarnate, we start representing pi. We make out the emotional responses to this reality, and we become part of the 3.14. How about, look at this code. There's the 33. I mean, what are the odds? All found from the fool and the 0, which is what we all are. Coming from the sun and the moon. And our blood is from the sun and moon. So what this is telling us. This is what this is telling us. So that's it, folks. That's my random thoughts number 10. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, it's been a long time since I've been on here to do one, but I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you saw, and I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks each and every one of you for all your support, your Patrons, your donations. Those of you that want readings, you're interested in a reading, send me an email, decodeyourreality@gmail.com. But folks, that's all I got for today. Until next time, we'll see you later.